successandmoneyfoundation.org. As you know, we're a nonprofit educational foundation or charity, an NGO. We teach kids, teens, young adults, and adults about success and money. Well, because you didn't learn it in school. You didn't take those classes in school. The thing about every one of you in this class, think about everybody that you see when you walk down the street, when you open the door, you're at a hotel, you're at a grocery store. Everybody has a couple things in common. Number one, we're all spiritual children having an earthly experience. You're a spiritual child of God, and you're here on this earth to have a experience. Now, with that being said, life's a game and games are fun. Money's a game and games are fun. Life is a game and games are fun. We need to turn this into a game and have some fun with it. Now, the interesting thing is that I've got my big brother Kelly on with me. So, Kelly, come on and say hello to everybody so we can introduce you. This is my big brother Kelly Painter.
Hi, guys.
So,
Tom
Kelly,
go ahead, Tom.
So Kelly is just barely 2 years older than me. We've had a great relationship growing up. He always chased all the girls in my class, which ruined it for me. But other than that, everything was pretty good. But Kelly and I had a very interesting experience last night. We were just at a little pizza place that we used to go to when we were in college. Gosh, Gal, 40 years ago? Yikes.
Yep.
35, 40 years ago. And we were talking to this gal that was our waitress. And she's a young gal. She's early in her early 20s. And she just got married. And they're both working their way through school and stuff like that. And the interesting thing about it is that she is going to a very prestigious college, a university, Brigham Young University. I mean, you got to be smart. I wasn't even smart enough to get into that school. But you've got to have some smarts to get in that school, but they didn't know anything about money. She didn't learn anything about money. She didn't have any clue, and she was just really kind of bashful about it. And so as we were talking about those things, we gave her some advice. And something I did was I literally pulled out an envelope, the back of a napkin, and we taught her the 7 steps. Now, one of the things I want you to do is I want you to teach the 7 steps. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you can teach him how to fish, you can feed him for a lifetime. But if you can teach him how to teach, you can change a whole generation. Now, the big aha that I had last night talking to this gal was she's in her 20s. Her and her husband are in their 20s. They're going to be doing this for 40 years. This is not a one-time thing. This is not a one-time thing. You learn something, you do something with it, and then you're done. This is habits that you're going to do the rest of your life. We have a plaque at our home that was made by my sister-in-law from my mother that says that success is a series of daily victories. If you want to be successful, it's a series of daily victories. And the key to those things are to do the 7 steps over a period of time. And it was interesting talking to her. She had all the excuses why she can't do it. Well, we're in college, we're young, I can't do those things. There's always excuses to do everything and to not do anything. The key is to create the habit and do the steps. And as you're doing those steps, it's a habit. Then you just add more. You add zeros to it. You do more, but you get in the habit. There's always a reason why you can't start. There's always a reason people can't do it. So I want everybody to pull out a piece of paper. And we did this literally on the back of an envelope. So I want to make sure you get what the 7 steps are, because you're going to go teach this to someone else. You're going to go out and teach it with somebody else, okay? So of the 7 steps, who can tell me what step number 1 is, class? Yell it out here. What's step number 1? Or put it in the chat. Just throw in the chat if you want to. Either one. Throw in the chat if you like. Yep, number 1. What's step number 1? Number 1, you've got to learn how to make more money. You have to learn how to make more money. And you do that with 2 things. You do that with your job, and you do it with your small business. Now, the reason that you do that with both of these things is because your job is probably going to be one of the greatest ways to help you become financially independent, to be financially free. It's not going to make you wealthy, but it's going to help you be financially free. You've got to figure out how to make more money with your job. And the way to do that is 3 things. 3 things that you've got to do. Number 1, you've got to solve problems. You look at the most successful people, what do? They solve problems. They look for problems. Now, I'm not very good at solving problems, but I'm good at finding problems and I'm good at finding people to solve those problems. And I'm good at getting things done. That's the difference between me and others. And I'm not that great at all these things, but what I am great at is finding people to fix them. Number two is you need to add value. You need to be more valuable than the next guy. If you'll spend 18 minutes a day, that's 100 hours a year, you will know more about some subject than 95% of the people on this earth. So it doesn't take a lot. When we watch the Olympics, there's going to be 8 people or 9 people competing in the 100-yard dash or the 100-meter dash. The difference between first place and ninth place is that much. You remember number 1, 2, and 3, but you don't remember number 9. You need to be just about 2% better, 3% better than the next guy because you'll win. So number 2 is you got to add value. You got to solve problems. And number 3 is you need to study successful people. Now, my brother and I and all of our families were very lucky. My dad is 4 days older than Warren Buffett. And as a result, we had a mini Warren Buffett that taught us, but more than just teaching us, we did it. We did it. Kelly, you remember that little house that was next door to us, to the house we grew up in?
I sure do.
Well, one day I was out there painting and scraping off the old paint with Dad, and because we were going to repaint it, and it was hot, and I wasn't having any fun. I was just a teenager. I was probably like 14 years of age or something. I said, Dad, can I get paid for doing this? And he says, No, son, get back to work. Dad had a lot of stuff going on. 10 kids, small town, small businesses, and you know. And he could see that wasn't the answer I was looking for. And a little while later, I got the gumption to ask him again. I said, Dad, are you sure I can't get paid for doing this? And he goes, Son, we bought this little house so that it would produce some income and that it would create some extra money to put you kids through college. Now, me being an early teenager, I didn't really care about that and that much. And he could see that wasn't the answer I was looking for. And then he said, Son, some people make so much money off their real estate, their investments, and their small businesses that they don't have a job. All they do is manage those things. And that was the seed that was planted in our heads at a very young age. We all had jobs growing up. We created small little businesses together. We took our money and we put it into where we were financing cars. We were making 12% on our money as a teenager. I was doubling my money every 6 years. My dad and mom were very compassionate capitalists. They taught and helped people. Dad was very, he grew up, mom and dad were both born in 1930. And 1930 is Hitler came really into power right around there, in 28, 30, and just right after that. World War II started. They grew up during the Depression. And they didn't have two nickels to rub together. They didn't even have the two nickels to rub together, but somehow they found them. And my mom and dad got married at a young age, 17, 18 years of age, and they started having children. And my dad and mom figured it out. They studied people and they studied things and they solved problems. And they taught us kids how to be able to do the same thing. So when I say that our parents are compassionate capitalists, that's really true. In fact, if you look right here, this picture up in the corner, left-hand corner here, that's our parents right there. You can see just over my wife's right there. And this is with 5 of their grandkids that were born, 6 of them in 1 year. And my mom and dad did something very interesting. They started a fund where they could put money aside for each of the grandkids. In 1984, there was 12 grandkids, and my brother Pat, along with my mom and dad, took some of the money out of the business, and they created sub accounts and investment accounts for each of the then 12 grandchildren. And those 12 grandchildren, they started an investment account, and they created a money tree, and they planted a money tree, and then they watered it, and it started to grow. Now, you flash forward a few years ago, both my mom and dad had passed away, but when they did, they had 70 grand and great grandchildren that all had these investment accounts. And when they get to be age 21 or so, they can take that money out. They can use it to go to university. They can use it to buy a house. They can use it for a business, or they can use it for investing. And so my mom and dad did something very interesting. They planted a money tree for every one of their grandkids and their great grandkids.
Tom, can I stop you for just half a second?
Sure, go ahead.
they had a couple of rules on this. If you wanted to take that money to go buy a car, the answer was no. It had to be something that you did that was going to improve your life and help you to do better. And if we went to him and says, "Hey, I'll go buy myself a new Corvette," the answer is no. It was to be a missionary for the Mormon Church because we were Mormons, and it was to buy a house, go to college, or start a business. And if you did not meet one of those four parameters, that money stayed in that account and you never got it. So they're very smart. This little town we grew up in, nobody had any money. We were very poor as kids. So if you live in a place that's very poor, you can do this. You just have to get out there and figure out how to make some money and not waste it on stuff that's irrelevant. We always drove old crappy cars, which that's where I learned how to fix cars. Tom didn't do quite so well on that, but he was good at making money. But you just have to have the drive and do what others won't, and you'll be able to live better than them. And when you've got enough stashed, you can help others that aren't so fortunate. Go ahead,
Well,
Tom.
growing up in the car business, there were seven of us boys, and so they made me sand the cars and clean the cars, but I never got to drive them because I was always one of the youngest. But my dad taught us about real estate. And if you look at the wealth of the family, you fast forward to now, both my mom and dad have passed away, and us 10 kids are here, 70 grandkids. But you look at the wealth that my mom and dad created, they created it with step number 6, with a business. They took a small business and turned it into a pretty good sized business, and real estate. So if you look at the estate that they passed down, a big chunk of that estate, probably the most biggest chunk of that estate, was in real estate. They had a business that helped make them enough money so we could survive, but it was the real estate is where we really thrived. And that's where we get into step number 6. So I'm going to go through these steps, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about these different ones and how it all worked. So that was step number 1. So the stuff I'm teaching, I didn't make this stuff up. This is stuff that my dad taught me and other mentors taught me. So that you got to study successful people. That's the 3 things you've got to do in order to make that successful. Now, let's go to step number 2. And all of you should have this on your paper right there. Step number 2, class, throw it in the chat. What is step number 2? Throw in the chat. Number 2. Number 2 is you need to separate your money into 3 groups. You've got to assign your money. You got to put your money on a mission. You need to figure out where you want that to go. Now, number 3 is to give. Give to individuals, churches, charities, whatever it is. That's right in what we teach. Now, sometimes money's really, really tight. Time is more valuable than money. Energy, solving problems, helping other people. Money is part of that, but we want to make sure that you give to individuals, churches, and charity. Number 4, and in talking to this little gal last night, the most important thing is you need to invest. You need to invest at a young age, not save. That's in 5, but you need to invest. And most importantly, we got to figure out how to make that so that it's automatic. Our goal is to teach you the 5 steps how to be financially free. And this is something easy to be able to teach, but we need to invest in the simplicity of investing. We don't want this to be difficult. We want it to be simple, and we want to automatically have that happen. We need to take money every time we make money up here. We need to have some of that money automatically pop right down into a separate account, a separate long-term investing account. The one thing that every adult's ever taught me and agrees with me is they wish they would have started investing at an earlier age. Because step number 5 is to save and spend. Now you'll notice save is not an investment. Save is your money's not making you any money. Your money has to make you more money. When you put money in the bank is taking your money and they're loaning it out to somebody else and making more money on it. You are a cash register to them. They don't care about you. They're not your friend. Their job is to take your money and go make more money with it. Okay. They're not doing you a big service. They want your money because they're going to go make money off of you. So when you walk into a bank, don't feel stupid because you're loaning them money. And you should be saying, how am I going to make more money off my money? But those are the 5 steps. Now, when you look at those 5 steps, that will help you to become financially independent. Now, step 6 and 7 is where we're going to go to help you be wealthy. But number 4, a lot of people say, well, I don't know how to get started. And we're seeing this with all of our students. I don't know how to start. Well, the first thing, the easiest thing to do is to get the automatic investing going. Invest, period. We're teaching a habit. Success and money is a series of daily victories. Success and money is a series of daily habits. Success and money is a series of compounding your knowledge and compounding your money and making your money work for you. Now, the shortcut to investing is, and the easiest thing for most people to do is to put money into long-term stock. Now, in step 6, we're going to show you about real estate. And real estate can also be in step number 1 as well, making more money with your small business. But number 4 is the long-term investment. And there's 4 ways that you can invest in the long-term stock market. Now, what's the stock market? The stock market is a whole bunch of companies that you can own a little bit of. You can own a little bit of Nike. You can own a little bit of Apple. You can own a little bit of Berkshire Hathaway. We like Berkshire Hathaway the most, as well as the S&P 500. But there's 4 ways to invest. Number 1, pick and choose. You can pick and choose the different stocks. Now, some people are really good at it. I'm not very good at it. I want to spend most of my time up in step number 1. I want to spend most of my time making more money. But you can pick and choose. Number 2, you can do what we call a mutual fund. Okay, you can do a mutual fund. This is number 2. Number 3, you can do what we call an index fund. And number 4 is one of our favorites, which is Berkshire Hathaway. And that's why we've donated the $3 million into the foundation, and $1 million of that was in Berkshire Hathaway stock. BRK, Berkshire Hathaway. Now, for me, I'm not very good at picking and choosing, and I've done millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of picking and choosing. Sometimes up, sometimes I was down, sometimes I was up way, way big, and I've been down too. And the problem with picking and choosing is time. You just don't have the time to do it really well. But it is fun if you're really good at it. But if you're going to pick and choose, everybody says, well, I get a little bit of money in the account. I want to go pick and choose. I want to buy it when I think it's going to go up. I'm going to sell it when it goes down. Well, now you're just gambling. The key is to invest in companies that go up in value. So I say if you pick and choose, you lose, because I'm not that good at it. And I've done probably $10 million worth of stock trades. And when it was all said and done, I spent a lot of time and energy. I had some good times, bad times, and I ended up not making any money. A mutual fund is where you hire a professional and they pick and choose. You're hiring a professional, but they're going to charge you 1 to 2% money under management. Okay, they're going to charge you fees. And you're never going to see those fees unless you look at the small, small print. But they're going to charge you fees. And that's one of the problems. An index fund is the 500 largest companies. Now, there's all kinds of index funds, but the one that we really want to talk about is the S&P, the Standard & Poor's. The Standard & Poor's is basically the 500 biggest companies in America, which are worldwide. Both Kelly and I have traveled. When Kelly was in his early 20s, he and a friend of his traveled all the way around the world. Kelly, did you go east or west to get started? Which way did you?
We had a one-way plane ticket around the world with Air India and Northwest Orient. We started in San Francisco, headed to Minneapolis, just because that's where the plane went, and then landed in Washington, D.C. And then from Washington, D.C., we went to New York City and then to London. And we had a rail pass around England for a week. And we had a plane ticket. So instead of taking the boat to France, we flew to Germany. And we spent 2 months going all over Europe, and then ended up down in Egypt. And that was pretty fun, pretty crazy place. And then we went to Israel for Christmas. I wanted to be there at Christmas time. And then we flew back to Rome to get back in our track where we started. They landed a Alitalia 747 on one wheel in Rome. That was pretty exciting. If you've ever seen a 747, they're huge airplanes. And from there, we went to India. And then we went to Nepal, where we went up in the Himalayas and saw Mount Everest. And then to Bangkok. Bangkok was fun. My daughter actually served as a missionary for the LDS Church in Bangkok. And then from Bangkok, we went to Hong Kong. And I got sick in Hong Kong because it was the middle of the winter and I didn't have a drink of water much in Thailand. We were going to go see the Great Wall of China, but I was sick, so I missed it. And then we went from Hong Kong to Tokyo and spent about a week in Japan. Japan was fun. Rode the bullet trains, learned how to use chopsticks, and then we flew back to Hawaii. And from Hawaii, we flew back to San Francisco. We were gone for 4 months. We used backpacks. I lost 40 pounds from carrying that backpack. And it was a great experience. I learned a lot about just different countries. And there are wonderful people in every country on earth. And I have friends in some of those places. When I got married about 8 months later, I sent wedding announcements to Canada, England, Egypt, India, all kinds of different places. It was fun, but it was, and I'm finishing up my journal that I wrote on that. I'm a pretty good photographer, and I took about 3,000 pictures while I was gone, and I'll have it done here in another couple of months. If any of you guys want a copy of it, let Tom know.
We'll put
So
some of this stuff up. So one of the things that I learned from that, from what Kelly did, was bucket list first, then the 7 steps.
yeah, I knew
What's
I
on
had
your
to.
bucket list?
Yeah, the kid that went with me was going to be a doctor, and it was either now or never. And I had a girlfriend that I wanted to marry, and I thought I've got to go do this before I get engaged to her. She wasn't very happy with me, but when I got home and finally got her to marry me, so
Which
but
is which is one of the greatest feats you ever pulled off.
yeah, it was. But some of these things you need to do while you're young if you have a chance to. But and then I was so poor I couldn't even think straight when I got home. Well, I shouldn't say poor. There is a difference in life between being poor and being broke, and it's the attitude of your mind. I have friends that think poor. You don't want to ever think poor. If you have no money, say, I'm broke. Okay, it means I have no money. Poor is a state of mind, broke is a temporary status. I saw so much poverty in some of these places I was in that it was just unbelievable. In Nepal, the dogs were crippled from no food. Nepal is, I think, the fourth poorest country in the world. And those people were absolutely wonderful, just like in some of the countries you guys are from. I wanted to go to the Philippines, but I was running out of money, and I thought my girlfriend would leave me if I didn't get back home. And it was a great experience. I learned more about life on that trip around the world. I became substantially more compassionate to my fellow man. We had people help us in every country we were in because we did not speak the language. I can't even tell you how many languages there were. And I finally got back to Hawaii, and I asked this lady in a little store where if she had any chapstick. Chapstick is a little lip balm you put on your lips when there's. And she actually answered me in English, and I was just shocked because I, used hand gestures and all this kind of stuff. But we had people help us in every country that there was. I wish I had more time, but that was all the money we had. There was a bad recession going on in America in 1982. And I got home and just basically had to go to work and try and make some money. I found my niche. I was always good at building things. And I built my own chicken coop. Well, it's actually a pigeon pen when I was in 5th grade. I even built the roof trusses. They're pitched like this, and I figured out how to do it. So Tom and I are hair different on that. He was always real good on finances, and I was good on solving problems on things. The reason I built these big, gigantic houses was because there's these big companies that build what are called tract houses in America. And that's where they buy a big piece of dirt and they build 100 houses. And I could not compete with them. So I thought, if I'm going to do real estate, I have to find something where I don't have to compete with these people that have multi-millions of dollars. So they didn't want to mess with the big houses because it took too much time. So that's what I went into. And I built houses for many years. And it was a good profession. It allowed me to put money away to invest. So find your niche of what you can do. And you don't have to have a bunch of money. You have to have drive to go after it. That's the main thing. I just told myself I am not going to fail in life. And I had some awfully hard times. When I started building, I had people tell me, you can't do this, you don't know how. So I'd find somebody that was smarter than me to teach me how to do it. Whatever you guys decide to do, find somebody that's smarter, that's willing to mentor you, and go after it. So, and you want to learn from people that are smarter than you because they know more than you do. So, and don't hook up with negative people either. That's not a good program, that tell you can't do it or beat you down on things. So stay positive and find people that are successful and learn from them. We grew up in a little tiny poor town in Utah, and it's just because of our drive. And that was taught to us by our father. We were very blessed to have a father that basically told you, get out, roll up your sleeves, and go to work, and you'll be successful. Anything you want to add to that, Tom?
No, I love what you're talking about there. And we're going to do another segment on your bucket list. And we're going to talk about some of the travels we've done and other stuff. But coming back to here. So right here, I'm going to take you through these 7 steps and get you through these. And then we're going to come right back. So really, it's bucket list first. What's on your bucket list? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be able to see in your lifetime? That's really the key of where you've got to go. So let's continue with that. And then we're going to come back. We're going to do another section on bucket list because Kelly and I have been all over the world and we want you to do the same thing. All right. So in automatically invest, there is the index funds that you can do. And then Berkshire Hathaway. The reason we love Berkshire Hathaway is because the fees are so low. There's no fee. It's buying a stock. There's a small commission when you buy it, but over time, over a long period of time, Berkshire Hathaway has outperformed the S&P 500 because of the fees, which has outperformed mutual funds with outperformed picking and choosing. So for the vast majority of you, as you're getting started, now, if you got $1,000,000 and you want to go pick and choose and you want to trade it, or a couple $100,000, that's different if you're really good at it. But the odds are you're better off spending all of your time up here in step number 1 is to make more money. Now, if you'll simply do this one thing and you'll take between 10 and 20%, I don't care if it's 5%. All I care about is that you start a habit of putting money away and then having it grow. Now, the reason I like the 5 steps is because most people, they're just going to have a job. They may or may not do a small business, but they do have money coming in, and then they got to figure out how to get that money to grow. Step number 5 is to save and spend. And the problem is with inflation, the countries around the world cannot balance their budget. They're spending more money than they make. And so everything is costing more money. You have to have your money working for you. And that's why step number 4 is so important. Now, if you'll do this one thing, and this is the thing I told this little gal last night, and we literally did this on the back of a napkin, and if you'll do this one thing, you can be financially free. You can be financially free. But many of you want to do number 6. We want to be wealthy. And to be wealthy, you've got to do multiple streams of income. You've got to do other things, MSI. And if you look at the family's wealth, you look at our wealth and stuff like that, it really came from 2 things. We took our small business and turned it into a big business. We took those small businesses and we made them grow. We're simplify and multiply. We simplified and multiplied. And then we made them grow. And number 2 is real estate. So when you look at the real assets of the family, that's where it came from. Now we're going to talk about some more stuff on real estate and the businesses, but number 6 is crucial. You've got to do those 2 things. Now, if all you do is own your own home, and we can teach you 3 ways to pay it off faster, to own it faster. We're going to teach you those strategies. My dad taught us these strategies when we were just kids about compound interest and about paying stuff off quicker and making your money grow. So we're going to teach you those things. And then if you can take those same things, you're going to make it grow. And so the way that the foundation was founded is that I bought a 4-plex, a 4-unit building. We bought it for $250,000. Over a 25-year period, the property went up in value up to $500,000. It just doubled in value. Remember the rule of 72? Compounding. How long does it take for something to double in value? But over that time frame, the loans paid off. Over that 25, 27 years, the property doubled in value and the loans went down to 0. My profit on each of those buildings was 500K, $500,000, which is great. And the beautiful thing is we had 20 of them. So that's how we made $10 million. We took that $10 million and we took 3 million of it. And that's what funded the foundation. That's how I did it. My dad didn't give us the money. My family didn't give us my money. My dad, what he did was he gave us the smarts, which was the most important thing that he could do. And this is where we've made our money. The family estate. My mom and dad have both passed, but as you look at the family estate, it was in real estate. And I'm going to let my brother talk about that in just a second. I'm going to take you through the last two steps, and then we're going to do some more segments if that's okay. Now, number 7 is really the crucial part. Number 7 is the wealth formula. What is the wealth formula? The wealth formula is every time you make money, we're going to take a portion of that and we're going to put it into a separate account. Remember when we talked about separate your money right up here? We're going to separate it. We're going to get money into a separate account. It's not part of your save and spend. That's a separate account right here. We're going to have investment accounts and real estate accounts. Whenever we make money, I don't care if it's pesos, I don't care if it's yuan, I don't care what it is. And we're going to do that times, hold on a second, my pen's not working well. We're going to do that times, have it go up in value. Our money's got to make us money. If your money's sitting in the savings account, the bank's taking your money and they're making money off of you. The bank is making your money off of you. And you feel stupid when you walk in the bank. Screw that. Life's a game, money's a game, and we're going to play it the way they do it. So we need to have your money go up in value. Remember the rule of 72. How long does it take for something to compound and double in value? Okay, if you have an investment that's making 6% a year, 6 times 12 equals 72. It takes 12 years for that investment to double. If you're making 3%, it takes 24 years. If you're making 1%, it takes 72 years. But if you're charging it on a credit card, it takes 3 years for it to double in cost. And people are giving money to the bank at 1%, and it takes 72 years for your money to double. And the bank's taking your money and loaning it right back to you on your credit card at 21%, and they're doubling their money in 3 years. So that's the game that's being played out there, and that's why people are losing. It's a mathematical game. And you're not seeing it because you're not asking the questions or seeing how it works. So the wealth formula, you need to do that and have your money grow times time. This is not overnight. Your wealth is over a period of time. We're planting a whole orchard of money trees. That equals wealth. Now, when you look at your wealth, when you make money from your job, some of that money is going to go into the wealth formula. As you're making money from your small business, your big business, that money's going to go into here. As you're looking at your real estate, it's going to go into here and you're going to compound it. That is how you become wealthy. Now, a lot of you are just going to say, I'm going to do the 5 steps. That's great. But really, we want you to be wealthy. We want you to have your own home that's free and clear. We want you to have your free and clear house. We want you to have real estate investments. We want you to have all kinds of things. Now, step number 8 is massive giving. Guess what? When you die, you don't get to take it with you. You don't get to take it with you. There's not a U-Haul that's hooked up to the back of the hearse. You're not taking your cash with you. You're not King Tut. You don't get to take the crap with you. And guess what? All that stuff was left in the pyramids. He didn't get to take it with him. That's the key of a successful life. The only way you get what you want out of life is to help other people get what they want out of life. So that's the 7 steps of what we're going to do. We're going to finish this class, and we're going to come back and we're going to do another class. Since I got my brother here, and we want to talk to you about 2 other things. We're going to talk to you about some real estate, and we also want to talk to you about your bucket list. So the key here, guys, is you can do this. The 7 steps are very simple. And you're going to take that piece of paper and you're going to do it on a napkin. You're going to do it as you're talking to people. And then guess what else I did? I actually had a book in the car, so I gave her a book, but I copied my link. Everybody has a link at the Success Money Foundation, and I texted her the link, and I gave her something more important. Now, her and her husband's going to the university, and they're spending a lot of money to learn stuff, but they're not learning the right stuff. Okay, they're learning how to make more money at their job, but they're not learning how to be able to make a lot of money and to be able to financially free. And so what I did, I copied my link and I texted it to her and I gave her a free membership. Now she has access to hundreds of hours of classes. You're not going to be doing this for a week or a month or a year. You're going to be doing this the rest of your life. Success is a series of daily habits. Success is a series of daily victories. This is what you have to do in order to be successful. And then 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, it's going to be a massive difference. This is not a one-time thing. The stuff you learn today, you're going to compound that. Warren Buffett still reads 5 hours a day. He's compounding his knowledge and he's compounding his experiences. That's what you've got to do too. So we're going to say goodbye for our friends from around the world. We're going to come right back and we're going to talk about 2 other sections. Thanks for watching.
Let me have 30 seconds with them before they go.
Go for it. Well, we're coming right back in another class too.
Oh, okay. In America, you basically cannot survive without a credit card. That's how you pay for everything. And the secret to a credit card is they're charging you. My wife got an offer for a credit card the other day at 36% interest. Tell you, I'd loan everybody all the money I ever saw in life if I could get 36% interest off of it. We have to have a credit card in America. I don't know where you guys live, but if you have to have a credit card, make a habit of paying it off every time you get the bill because they will charge you. I looked at mine where if I paid the minimum on it, it took 27 years with the interest they're charging to pay off even like $3,000. So if you do have to have a credit card, don't buy anything unless you can pay that bill in full when it comes due. That's where they really rip you off. Anyway, go ahead, Tom.
And the part of that too is automatic. We talked about the automatic. So when I was we were bringing in $500,000 a year just in pure rents, but all the bills, everything was automatically paid. The mortgages were paid automatically. The credit cards were paid. Everything was paid automatically because if you want to have good credit, you just pay your bills on time. You pay your bills on time and you don't do it manually. You set it up so it automatically happens. That's the key. All right, stay tuned, guys. We're going to come back. We're going to do another quick section. We're going to talk about a bucket list. We're also going to talk about real estate and the things that both of us have learned in real estate. And our goal is to help you get where you want to go. So stay tuned.